Timeline Iced Earth is the second part to the Timeline trilogy. You play as Gordon Freeman, sent to another universe where an ice age has been around for 300 years and is being attacked by the Zen from the original Half-Life game. After going through a kind of boring introduction, you start in a closed, iced-in level that really sets the tone for the whole mod. You see structures that in the original game were grand and architecturally stunning. In this mod, it is lower in scope and feels more down to earth, yet showing that this was the best mankind could muster while in a decline. Speaking of a decline, humanity is slowly recovering from an earthly disaster. And is barely holding on until the Zen invade. You see ruins within cities that were populated before the attacks, and on the global level the world is very different from our own, not only in a geographical sense but a political one as well. You see the British still having an empire, with most of the world within their grasp, and they even have held on to the Americas. While Russia is still meandering about somehow, Japan is the second largest empire in this universe, holding on to many islands in the Pacific. We even get to see that universe's Gordon Freeman, dead during the invasion. However, when you go to Britain and in the Ice Age version of Black Mesa, you don't hear Saxon accents. You only hear American.
Hello, Freeman. Who would have thought you'd still be alive?
So this is the guy. We thought you'd never make it.
And that's fine, but when it comes to a remod, consistency can be a two-sided blade. This remod updates many NPC and weapon looks, making it very reminiscent of Blue Shift, and how they updated the Gold Source engine. But again, the remod author hasn't changed any of the problems in the map design. You still get stuck in areas that shouldn't have happened, and get caught by enemies you can't see. Just look at this one scene. What can you look out for? See these tongues? In the old Half-Life textures, you would see them. But in this remod, they're very transparent, and in the dark, very hard to see while moving. Consistency-wise, the enemies are out of place. Why this would be the case is because these Zen enemies are iced-themed. Their textures are white and make them look as if they have fur in some cases. But they're from Zen, so shouldn't there be a high-def texture instead of a retexture for these enemies? The entire time I was playing this mod, I thought, why are they camouflaged like this? Zen is a separate place, and when you go there, it isn't even snowing, so why are these enemies made to look as if they are from a snowy place? They should be as out of place as the Nazis in this mod. And yeah, the Nazis are back, and for some reason more powerful than before, and have a grudge against you, even though you reset the timeline. And what's funny to me is that these guys don't have camo. They're as black as the ground is white. So why are the Zen camoed but the Nazis aren't? Well, I think it has to do with the remod author using assets from another mod that is better themed than this one. But I'm not here to rage on just Zik Shadow. Ross Smith does need to have some criticism in this. The map design and level design are flawed. For one man, again, I am impressed for what he got done, but that doesn't mean problems get to go away. These maps are great for a unique storytelling perspective, but can be confusing in where to go and to progress, and especially how to finish. I'll just start with the good. And previously, I think going to a place where mankind was already struggling with a natural disaster, such as an ice age, is a good idea. Then having to fight dimensional beings invading that world is unique. Especially in the Timeline trilogy. This idea feels very much its own, and moving to new areas makes this mod very refreshing, and more than Timeline 1. Sadly, the use of where you have to go and progress towards is not done well. There are areas where you face waves of enemies and you don't know what to do. Are you supposed to hold them off? Blow the place up? Or just flee? Because one area where you're supposed to destroy a Zen portal, it isn't very clear cut what you're supposed to do and how to do it. Fighting off Nazi assassins from a time machine in waves is frustrating, and killing a boss without a clear-cut form of cover is maddening. The first problem I could deal with is this level. The enemies there are predictable, and you can take cover against them easily without screwing yourself over. Until you get to the midsection of the area. Then it turns into a shit show. Also, these Nazi assassins are more frustrating than Dark Souls, because enemies like these are horrible, and whenever I see them, I think that the designer of whatever mod thought I can put erratic AI enemies to make this area more challenging. With this train of thought, I say, don't, because these AI are the worst enemies you ever face in any Half-Life based game, because they are not meant for this type of gameplay, since they are hit-scan enemies and move in spontaneous ways that are not fun. Don't make waves out of assassins. Finally, the boss you face is not annoying, but how you get there is, because I had one hell of a time finding a way to open a door while having to fight waves of enemies that are just hit-scanned and miss rarely, all the while not having cover and losing health fast from their attacks. This area was one of the worst in the whole mod, and when you are done and killed the boss, you jump down a portal. Except you don't, because shimmying your way across a wall into a small hole and then escaping the facility holding the said Zen creature is more clear-cut than teleporting to some other place. And I'm going to say this again, why can't you just make a block entity when you go down the elevator to open that door? It is way easier than having to move up a little bit when enemies are coming towards you and they're hit-scanned. It is a very bad system to implement. It may seem that I didn't enjoy this mod, and at times it's true, because the way the story is told, it doesn't feel focused. And I just got lost in why the Nazis were back. And progressing to new areas was confusing, because I'm literally thinking Gordon is in the same area at certain levels that have different settings, because they all look kind of the same. When it came to transitions, this was very prominent. These levels were less coherent than the other 2 episodes of this trilogy. My final thoughts in making this review is conflicting, because the escape scenes were great and the ending was well done. Escaping a space station and crashing on Earth is really cool. However, bad level design, annoying sections, and enemies make this mod less enjoyable. So with all these problems, would I recommend it? I'm saying download this mod, because even though there were frustrating areas, I did immerse myself in the world Ross Smith made, because it is just one guy who wanted to make mods, and that helps when going through here. So grab a crowbar and have fun.